From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big midday here on LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check. These are the monthly stimulus checks under the fourth stimulus package that will go out in the month of July and pay every month thereafter. I have the big great news about those four stimulus checks, who gets them, how much they are, and when they would land in your bank account in this recording. Then we turn to fifth stimulus, the big payout that comes in September. Fifth stimulus will provide SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, and veterans benefits increases, more checks, incredible reform of the entire system. Nearly dating back 40 years, you're going to see big new numbers across the board. Also in this recording, I'll go over the big financial data that came in this morning, and new breaking news coming out of the Labor Department minutes ago that impacts Uber and Lyft drivers. Incredible big news in a big noontime recording. I'm excited you're here. Let's get to it. This is Noontime LALATE. How are you, everybody? It's a big noontime. I'm here direct from Los Angeles. You're watching me live on LALATE, the most comprehensive, the most financially astute, and the most fun interactive financial channel there is online. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also like this video, and if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Let's get to the breaking news right off the bat. Fourth stimulus is heating up, and fourth stimulus checks will be monthly starting the month of July. In this recording, I'm going to go over the four stimulus checks. I'm going to go over the fifth stimulus package this fall, and I'll be going over the third stimulus package that has more money land in the next few weeks. I'll go over what those items are, and the breaking news that came out of the White House just minutes before going on live that will impact Uber and Lyft drivers, and the other financial news released this morning. Wow, what a big show this is for giving you. And let's get to the details first with fourth stimulus. Fourth stimulus will start in May and will end in July and will result in a monthly stimulus check going out in the month of July. Fourth stimulus is July. Fifth stimulus is September. And they bear two striking resemblance to one another. What are they? First, the bills will be written by Congress. Two, the bills will feature add-ons from Congress and that they will go by reconciliation. Here's what you need to know. The fourth stimulus package will be written by Congress, not by the president, because he doesn't write bills. And Congress will add into the fourth stimulus package stimulus checks. When they go and do the fifth stimulus package in the fall, they're writing again, and they're adding in their SSI reform on top of what the president wants to give. Last night, the President of the United States addressed the American people broadly about some items in the fifth stimulus package. Tonight on Evenings LALATE, you're going to see that he only mentioned about 2 or 3 items of the fifth stimulus package. There's about 20, and that's because it's only a press conference. It's not a laundry list of everything he's going to give you. Moreover, he's not giving you the stimulus checks. They're being added by Congress. He's not giving you the SSI. They're being added by Congress, and moreover, he doesn't write the bills. They do. All right, let's start with incredible news about those four stimulus checks. They start in the month of July, and they land every month thereafter. House members and Senate members both want you to give a stimulus check. When we're looking at the House members, they've already written in writing how they want it to work. They want it to be $2,000 the first month and $1,000 thereafter. The senators have a different approach to it and a different amount, so let's compare how different it is. The House members, you just saw, stimulus check for the remainder of the pandemic plus 1 year. That's 16 months if we have 4 more months left of this pandemic, 18 months if we have 6 months left of this pandemic. The senators want to give you a stimulus check from now to December. The House members are progressives and the senators are moderates. And then the amount. The House members want to give you $1,000 after the first month of $2,000. The senators, the amount is unknown, but word on the street is going to look like this. The senators want to do, reportedly, $2,000 a month for over 6 months, which will be $12,000, or $1,400 a month over 6 months, which is $8,400. To which, let me answer some questions that I commonly hear. How, where, when, and why does it look like it's so much money? Is it taxable, and would it impact my benefits? All right, let's go over all the details. First, when? July. The vote would be in July. They would start the reconciliation process in May and finish it in July. It takes 2 months. The vote would be no later than July 4th, says Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi, and the checks would go out for the month of July. There would be no waves of checks because these are monthly checks, so the IRS has no luxury to do waves. They have to drop them at the same time. The next check would be the month of August. Third, is this counting as income? No. Is it a taxable event? No. Who gets it? Everyone that qualifies for a first, second, or third stimulus check. Well, actually, for a second or third stimulus check. So, if you make less than $75,000, you get it. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, you get it. If you're a household of 4 or less, you get it. But 4 of these checks, yes, that amount you saw before was just for one person. Married couple, $150,000 or less, and yes, you would get 2 of these checks. Now, you may wonder, why does this amount look so big, LALATE, compared to 2020, where they wouldn't give us a few pennies? Well, you're going to see throughout today's recordings and the second half of this show that the president is clamoring for this fall to spend $24,000, $75,000, $60,000 per person for other items. So the fact that we're talking about a stimulus check giving you $8,000 pales in comparison. It's a new year and it's a new spending habit. Again, these are 4 stimulus checks. Now, let's go over how this happens. It will go by what's called a reconciliation process. A reconciliation process means it's a 2-step process and does not need a single Republican vote, does not need Mitch McConnell involved, will only go through Democratic channels. Step 1 of the 2-step process is doing a bill that agrees to do a recon. There's nothing substantive in there. And that is written by the House Democrats, approved by the House Democrats, then off to the Senate, approved by the Senate Democrats, and then the president signs into law. Back then, they repeat the process with step 2. At step 2 is a substantive bill for forced stimulus. And at that point, they put in what the president announced last night that he likes, and anything else that he wants to add in there. Roads, infrastructure, climate, highways. But at that point, if they want to add more things in there, that's when Congress, adds more things in there. The House Democrats have already said they want those monthly stimulus checks for pandemic plus 1 year. So the House Democrats could add the stimulus checks at the House level, or they could wait till the bill heads over to the Senate and let the senators put it in there, or they could add it at the House level and let the senators modify it. Remember, the senators have the final say. During the final 48 hours, when the bill is in the Senate after leaving the House, they have an event called a vote-a-rama. And during that vote-a-rama, House Democrats introduce amendments to whatever is in the forced stimulus package. It's at that point during the vote-a-rama that the House Democrats will slide in there the monthly stimulus checks. And they have the final say. How much per month, how many months? And they may also do at the vote-a-rama other items in addition to stimulus checks which you need. I'll be covering that on the second afternoon's LH show this afternoon. So tune into that about other things that I think they may need to, and they may actually slide into the fourth stimulus package because they're expiring from third stimulus. Oh yeah, that's coming up later this afternoon, so don't miss that on Afternoons LA. So that is the vote-a-rama for the fourth stimulus, and that's how it works. Biggest payout you ever see on this History's channel. Now, fifth stimulus, coming up in the second half of this recording, goes the exact same path. Again, procedural bill. Do you agree to do a reconciliation in September? We agree. Then they go back and they do the substantive bill. At the substantive level, they will start to add the stuff the president mentioned last night, the stuff the president forgot to mention last night that he also wants to have, that I'm going to be going over on Evenings LA. And then those House members will slide in the SSI reform that'll raise your benefits across the board. What is that SSI reform and how much money is it and when would you see those benefits? That's coming up in the second half of this recording, so stay with me for the second half. But let me go over some other developing details that just happened the last few minutes and happened a little bit earlier today that's going to leave you a little bit shocked. Minutes ago, Marty Walsh, who is the labor secretary to President Biden, he's the guy from Boston with that thick Boston accent you saw in one of the videos about a week ago, spoke to broadcast media and said, Marty Walsh, that he believes that Uber and Lyft are misclassifying its workers and need to reclassify them as employees. Oh boy, this is a shocker. Wall Street and Uber and Lyft and its drivers are horrified at this announcement minutes ago. This is huge news. Let me explain why it's big news. In 2020, I detailed for you that Uber and Lyft are classified as independent contractors, that you get PUA, not UI, even though some states were messing it up. And I told you at that time that the California State Attorney General's office, in a very big event, and I think that guy is now in the Biden administration, sued Uber and Lyft to stop classifying its workers as independent contractors. Well, while that lawsuit was going on, California voters went to the polls and determined that Uber and Lyft were correct in determining that the workers are independent contractors. Now, Marty Walsh, from a federal standpoint, and remember, federal law controls over state law, is trying to suggest that the Biden administration may try to unwind Uber and Lyft and force their workers to be classified as employees. This is huge. This is really huge. And Wall Street is just shocked by the comments. This is where we talk about unexpected risk. This is one of those things where no one saw this coming, and it literally came out of nowhere, and Wall Street was not ready for this risk. Among the other items that came out this morning that people were surprised about were this, and it all impacts your stimulus. The new unemployment numbers came out this morning, and look at this. Interesting. This is surprising. So the new unemployment numbers did not show us improving at a faster rate of growth. In fact, it showed us slowing. The new unemployment numbers were worse than the week before. 547 compared to 553 this week compared to 547 the week before. That's really surprising because the week before we dropped 250,000 and now we're actually growing. We're growing in numbers. This, on the other hand, is bounced off on this news happening this morning, which is New York City announced that July 1, the entire city will be 100% back open for business. No restrictions for COVID will no longer be in place. They will be all lifted. California is in June. We had that announcement a few weeks ago. Also making news this morning, a really bad number for home sales. Again, this shows the economy retracting, not growing. The new home sales, Wall Street expected a 5% growth. We only increased at 2% growth. And finally, you're wondering probably how forced stimulus is going to be paid for. That forced stimulus package in July, corporate tax rate will be the method of paying for it, the president confirmed last night. Fifth stimulus, coming up in the second half of this recording, will be paid for with capital gains taxes and personal taxes. And with that, before I cut to fifth stimulus after the second half of this recording, stay with me, let me go over some things in third stimulus that are so important to know about. And a lot of them are happening in the last few minutes. First, there is a new round of third stimulus checks of $1,400 that went out today. Who are the recipients of these checks? IRS confirms these are people who just filed tax returns in 2020, and because of the filing of the tax returns have triggered a stimulus check. So if you're a viewer of this channel, have not gotten that third stimulus check, but did file a tax return, this could be your week. Congratulations. Number two, big news across the board about the children's check and the rent, utilities, food, internet, and mortgage assistance. First, let me go over the second one. The food, rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance under third stimulus in nearly 99% of all jurisdictions has not yet landed. The rent and homeowners assistance is landing in May, so it's landing just a few days from now. Reach out to your volunteers if you're having problems finding it in the month of May. But the big surprise in developing detail is about the children and that $3,600 or $3,000. I've gotten a lot of questions about it because of yesterday's recording. Let me explain what you get, when you get it, and how you get it, because people are very confused because of incorrect YouTube videos, incorrect broadcast media articles, and in some cases, some tax preparers are telling them the wrong thing as well. First, you are going to get $300 a month if the child is 5 to newborn, or $250 a month if the child is 17 to 6, starting in the month of July for 1 year, if two events occur. One, they know the child exists and are with you. And two, you made less than $75,000 2020 tax return. So this is what's important for you, or you make less than $75,000. Period. No tax return. This is what's important for you to understand. Those are the only qualifications to get the eligibility qualifications to get the payment. People have been adding on narratives that there's extra qualifiers. There are no other qualifiers. So if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits and do not work, yes, you can get this if IRS knows the child exists and is with you. Absolutely. If you did not file a 2020 tax return, yes, you can get this if IRS knows a child exists and knows a child's with you. Is this money for the 2020 tax return? No. Now, this is the part that's very weird because the way it was written, it's just a weird law. The money is being paid to you as an advance for next year's return. So rather than have you wait to get the money in 2021, the law says IRS is going to give you the money a year earlier in July. So this is money for next year given to by IRS this year. So who are the people who are not going to get the money, in addition to people who make too much money? People who the IRS doesn't know the child exists. These are the examples. There's two examples that you need to watch out for. One, you don't file tax returns, hence the IRS doesn't know the child exists. So let's say you're on SSI or SSDI and you don't file tax returns. IRS doesn't know the child exists. They're not going to pay you anything. You got to get that tax return on file. Reach out to a tax preparer. Number two, you do file tax returns, but you haven't been mentioning that child exists. An example for that is the child was born during the pandemic. If the child was born during the pandemic, let's say March last year, now 1 year old, happy birthday. Happy birthday. But you had to enlist that child on the tax return. The IRS doesn't know the child exists. You're not going to get a check for the child. There we go. Coming up in the second half of the recording is the big news about the SSI and SSDI reform coming under fifth stimulus and all the other exciting developing details that are in fifth stimulus that the president mentioned last night. In fact, they're in there. He just forgot to mention them. I'll have all those details and more, but first, here's a little bit about the community page that helped you get the rent and utilities. I'll be back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on LALATE. How are you? It's a big day across the board. And I'm really excited you're joining me. You're currently watching Mornings LALATE. Coming up next, you're actually watching Noontime LA. Coming after this is Afternoons LA. You ready for that? That excitement is just a little bit away. And wow, after Afternoons LA, we go into our late night programming schedule. 2 hours after that. Let's look at that schedule as well. Afternoons LA returns at 6 p.m. and then Evenings LA at 8 p.m. And then we go into LA late night. How are you? It's a big noontime. I'm so excited you've joined me. Thank you for joining me on Noontime LALATE. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. What a big day it was yesterday. Wow, a lot of new subscribers. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe. This is the most comprehensive financial news channel on the planet. Recording 24/7, interactive, fun, and also up to the minute. Also, like this video. 3,000 likes. It's getting competitive, the space. So make sure you like the video if you're watching it live or if you're watching it taped after it aired. Also, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Casino VIP. Members yesterday got the details of what's in the fifth stimulus package. And I'm glad you're a member because guess what? The president didn't mention 90% of what he wants in the fifth stimulus package, so you would have only have seen it if you were a member or had watched the videos. I'll be going over all those details of what's in the fifth stimulus package tonight on Evenings LA. Let's turn it to SSI reform. But before I do, some people are asking good questions in the commercial break, and I love your questions. First, someone said, any update about Elizabeth Warren and the wealth tax? No. You saw in that graphic before the commercial break the extent of the taxes the president is touching under fourth and fifth. I don't know if we're going to see any more taxes touched by this president in the next few days. You see that the fourth stimulus is going to have corporate taxes change. Fifth stimulus is going to have capital gains taxes and personal taxes change. The personal taxes for fifth stimulus may be where Warren can get some modification in there because her wealth tax concerns personal. Then someone had comments about Marty Walsh, union guy, and all that type of stuff. Very interesting. Very, very insightful comments people had about Marty Walsh during the break. And then finally, people were asking about the $50,000 student loan debt forgiveness. No update. No update. It's literally 3 weeks late, the memo, and he was instructed to do the memo 5 weeks ago. And who is that? That's Miguel Cardona, the education secretary, who was cited extensively by the president during yesterday's briefing. All right, let's go to fifth stimulus. Fifth stimulus is in September, and fifth stimulus will have an add-on just like the fourth stimulus. The fourth stimulus package, the senators and House members will add in there, when they write the bill, not the president, monthly stimulus checks. In September, the fifth stimulus package, written also by those same people, will feature them adding in there reform to the system. And what is the reform? The reform takes several shapes. I'm going to go over generally what it is first, and then I'll specify and clarify each of the provisions. They're going to increase your benefits, increase the asset limits, increase the added inflationary benchmark, and then remove the income exclusion and remove the marriage penalty. All right, let me explain what that all means. Very simple for you. First, if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, or if you're on multiple benefits, they're going to raise your benefits across the board to a big new number. That will be your new number going forward. Second, they're going to tie your benefits to inflation. That will be your new benchmark, inflation. Inflation is expected to be 2 to 4% over the next few years. Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, said this week. So great, you're going to always increase your benefits year to year. And if you're worried about those reports out that say inflation could go through the roof in the next few years, your benefits will go through the roof over the next few years. Third, they're going to remove the asset cap. It dates back to 1984 for some of you that says you can't keep more than $3,000 on hand. They're going to get rid of that. They're going to remove the income cap that dates back to the 1960s that says you can't work. Some of you want to work. You don't have to work. But if you want to work, you're going to love this. You can work $1,000, $2,000 approximately and still stay on benefits. And finally, if you have been the victim of the marriage penalty, you know exactly how horrible it is. They're getting rid of it. All right, let me go over the common questions that I get about the fifth stimulus and the SSI reform. First, when? Again, this would be a 2-month process by reconciliation. So it'd start in September and finish around October, November-ish. When would we physically see the impact on our pocketbook, on our benefits? Around December. Would this go by recon? Yes. Now, the other type of questions I often get is, would it disqualify me from that other thing? No. This is a benefit system they're trying to improve to fix it. They're not trying to improve it to destroy something else. So people say, oh, it's going to hurt wealth. It's going to hurt Medicare or Medicaid. No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to help one thing to hurt another. Oh, it's going to hurt SNAP. No, they're not doing that. So please understand that's not happening. All right, so that's fifth stimulus. All incredible, great news across the board. Now, here's something that's important for you to know, and it's going to be covered tonight on Afternoons LALATE, the second Afternoons LALATE, the tape show. And this is very, very important for you to know. It came from two private messages I got in the last 24 hours. The President of the United States in January held a press conference about the third stimulus package. It was on Thursday night. I remember the speech very well. It was very short. It was only about 20 minutes. He literally mentioned 10% of the third stimulus package bill. He did not mention 90% of the other things he wanted to have. And he also talked about it being sort of, this thing, whatever it was. Last night, his speech was longer. It was about an hour long, at least an hour long. And he talked about fourth stimulus being jobs and fifth stimulus being families. Here's what I want you to know. First, the use of a term or a title for these packages helps the president pitch it to the American people. But in the same breath, it really confuses people thinking that it's only about that subject matter. So you hear fourth stimulus is about jobs. Well, I don't need a job. I don't want the fourth stimulus package. I don't need a job. Well, it's more than just jobs. Well, why does he call it the jobs plan? Not particularly a good idea to just give these packages one word and then people think it's only that word. Fifth stimulus in fall, it's the American Family Plan. Well, I don't have kids, hence I don't get anything from it. That's not true because it actually has a lot of stuff in there. Almost 30–40% of the stuff in there has nothing to do with kids, nothing to do with parents and kids, nothing to do about colleges. But he called it family plan. So the naming of these things is being used by him as sort of a publicity and entertainment purpose, a packaging purpose. But for purposes of clarity, it confuses people. It absolutely confuses people because the packages have things in there. So I received DMs last night. People say that fifth stimulus package is all about kids. There's nothing for seniors in there. There's a lot of stuff in there for seniors. He didn't tell you last night, and he called it what he called it. And that's why it's important for you to stay with me, because ultimately I'm going to go line item by line item. Tonight on Evenings LA, I am going to go through everything he wants in the fifth stimulus package that he did not even tell you last night. Yeah, so it's one of those nights for him. I'm going to go over what's in fourth stimulus so far and what's not in fourth stimulus, but what should be in fourth stimulus. And what could still get added because we got a couple of weeks still till we get to July. That's coming up on Afternoons LA. Yes, if you are concerned about rent, utilities, food, internet, you're concerned about FPUC, PUA, PUC, you're going to want to watch that broadcast because it's important to understand what's currently not being talked about as much as what is being talked about. Very, very interesting. And with that, here's what you need to know going into the afternoon. There is a series of very conflicting economic data today. The economic data today, for the first time, I think in almost maybe 3 weeks of this channel, we see in some parts of this economy that some things are accelerating incredibly fast on economic growth. Some are not accelerating that fast, but are improving, and others that are getting worse. So you saw the unemployment number getting worse actually today. You saw this reopening across the country, which is good. You saw this number, which is a positive, but not as strong as they anticipated. And there was a lot of other numbers that came out today as well. Ford Motor Corporation, for example, reported that this upcoming 3 months, they will only be able to deliver 50% of their vehicles because of a major economic problem. What is it? Shortage of semiconductor chips. When the pandemic shut down businesses, it also shut down the orders for semiconductor chips. And now those chips would need to be produced 6 months in advance are not in existence. They're nowhere to be found. So Ford is warning that it's going to have a major slowdown of its operations in the next 3 months because they don't have these chips, which would have had to been ordered over 6 months ago. There's a lot of things still at issue. And I'm so glad you're part of this family. I'm so glad you've joined me. Let's look at the big, exciting details that are coming up later on this channel on today's programming schedule. So much happened across the board in a day in which there's so much still unfolding, and I can't wait to see you join me. In 2 hours from now, I'm back with you on Afternoons LA at 4 p.m. And then we go into our evening schedule. Those are those big shows you don't want to miss tonight. Afternoons LA at 6 p.m. I'll go over what's not enforced stimulus but should be added and what you need to push for. On evenings LA, we'll go at 8 p.m. I'll go over what's in the fifth stimulus package that the president left out, but he wants in there. And then we're back with LA late night tonight. It's a big day across the board as America pushes and continues to reopen, but still wants to get its feet on the ground. Together as a family, we'll keep it positive, we'll keep it focused, and we'll keep it motivated. And I really appreciate all the incredible love in the chat. There's Crystal, and there's Bill, and there's John Benari, and there's Jerry, and there's Susan, and there's Bill Huffman, and Linda, and Peter, and Jerry, and Alicia. How are you, Alicia? And there's another Patricia, and there's Anna, and there's John, and Scott Watson, and Danny, and Elia, and Linda Patterson, and Sherry, and Gail. Debbie Knights, how are you? And there's Dadey, and there's Shirley Parker. How are you, Shirley Parker? And Dolphus, and there's Daddy. What a hard name to say. And Laura P. and Jerry. It's been a big day, and I've been so excited you've joined me. And with that, thank you for staying with me. If you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. I want you to be part of this family, this channel. And I'm up to date around the clock, and I have a lot more shows coming up for you later today, so make sure you tune into them. And meantime, the next show of Afternoons LA, I'm jumping into the live chat, so bring your questions. Also, like this video, 3,000 likes. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with Ally for more.